Alright, fellas, welcome back to another episode of going through and ranking each division, predicting each division's record leading up to the 2023 NFL season. This is the fourth episode, and today we are covering the NFC South. This is the second time I'm recording this. For whatever reason, the first time when I tried to put it into Premiere, it didn't work, so here we are back at it. We're going to run through this one shortly because, quite frankly, I don't feel like sitting here for a half an hour just talking over something I just did. But getting right into it, and I know I'm going to get crucified. I said this in the last one. I know I'm going to get a ton of hate for this, but winning the division, I have the Falcons at 10-7. I know a lot of people love the Saints. I know a lot of people I see think the Saints are a sure lock to get even double-digit wins and run away with the division. I see some people who think the Saints will be a top 3 seed in the NFC, and I just don't see it. While I don't think the Falcons are that much better than the Saints or the Panthers, I just think it's enough to the point where they edge them out a little bit. A lot of it comes down to really their run offense and their O-line. They also made some big additions on defense. I think that bringing in Jesse Bates was huge. Getting Jeff Okudah for more corner depth was really big. Calais Campbell's really good for their vet locker room presence. But I just think that the way that they're going to be able to play football this year, they're going to be able to run the ball and just absolutely shove it down your throat, pause, and just be able to take early leads and completely milk the clock for the rest of the game. I think that they'll definitely maybe not lead the league outright, but they'll be top 3 in rushing offense. I think there's a world where Algier and Bijan both go for over 1,000 yards. There's also a world where Ritter is terrible and Bijan isn't really that great right away, and they suck. I'm willing to see both sides, but I went back and forth with it a lot. For a while I had the Panthers winning division, for a while the Saints, and finally I came back and I settled on the Falcons. But yeah, I've been going 10-7. Their record's super easy. It's like nothing crazy, but I don't know. It's the teams that they play that are actually good I don't think they're going to be close at all. This is the best way I can put it. But the games that I have them winning are very winnable games. So I don't really think it's anything too crazy. Just to go through it, either me and the Panthers, the Packers, the Texans, the Buccaneers twice, the Cardinals, and the Saints both times. And I have them also beating the Colts later on. So I know a lot of people say it's hard to sweep divisional opponents, especially that being the Saints. So with a lot of people behind the Saints, I understand that, and I could easily be wrong about that, and they could end up being 8-9 instead of being 10-7. But I think that could be said about any of these teams, just because I think there's such a toss-up with all of them. But the team I have coming in second place is the Saints, and I have them going 8-9. They made a lot of additions in the draft, but I think that there's a lot of age on this defense, and I think that their defense just isn't going to be as good as it has been in prior years. Their coaching is really well, or they have, their coaching is really well. That works. But in years past, it's been pretty consistent for them to perform above wherever they're slated to perform on paper, and a lot of that's due to coaching. I just don't know if it's necessarily going to be enough this year. Cam Jordan's aging, Demario Davis is aging, Tyrann Mathieu aging. Marshawn Lattimore is like the only guy that's like not over the hill. But they drafted Brizzi in the first round and Foskey in the second round. Those guys are like decent depth picks, like currently, but I think both of them are going to kind of need some time to develop before they can really be like contributing starters. Not only starters, but like even like stars on this offense. Or excuse me, not the offense, the defense. But I think their offense will be fine in terms of passing the ball. I do think if they have some injuries, it's going to be rough for them, both sides. They just really don't have any depth on offense at any position, really. I mean, they got running backs okay for them because they signed Jamal Williams and they drafted Kendra Miller. But I think wide receiver, they're really rough. I like A.T. Perry. I think they drafted him like the 5th round. I think he slid a lot. Rashid Shaheed is a really good like end-around gadget guy. I don't really know if he's going to take that jump and be a legit receiving option this year. They have a ton of tight ends, so they got depth there. But offensively, like in terms of their line, Eric McCoy and Ryan Ramczyk are really good, but if either of those guys go down, the backups are not that good. Trevor Penning is a guy that I'm scared to see play. If I was a Saints fan, I would be terrified that he's the starting left tackle. But I don't think it's going to be too disastrous, but I don't know. Like I said, I think that they're going to be very similar to how I think the Vikings will do this year, where their offense will win them some games, but there's definitely going to be some games where the defense ends up giving up more than their offense can produce. And I know that's going to be a hot take because for whatever reason, a lot of people like to say that the Saints have like a top 5 defense, where you just have to look at their depth chart and it would tell you right then and there that they don't. Could they play like a top 10 defense? Sure. I think that's definitely within the capabilities just with their coaching staff and their track record, but I don't think it's crazy to predict their defense kind of taking kind of a steep fall off with losing some guys and also some guys getting older, because eventually it's just going to happen where these guys just aren't who they were really anymore. You know, we got guys like Mario Davis who are, I think, like being 34, 35, and that's like pretty unheard of for interior linebackers to really be great through their mid-30s. So moving on to third place, I have the Panthers coming in at 8-9. I have them going 3-3 in division, which I also have the Saints going 3-3 in division. Like I said before, I was high on the Panthers initially because I think that overall they have the best depth between the Falcons and the Saints, and I think that they have the best O-line. It's kind of a toss between the three of the teams. I think the Saints have like if you took Eric McCoy and Ryan Ramczyk alone, I think they'd be better than any other 2 linemen you'd put against. Chris Lindstrom's really good on the Falcons, and obviously you have Icky, and then you have Ted Moten, who's pretty good for the Panthers. But I just think the Panthers overall, just as a core, probably are a bit better, which is why I was higher on them. I want to say core, I mean just like depth-wise, taking everything into account. But obviously that doesn't always lead to, just because you have the best depth doesn't mean you're going to be the best team. And just when it really comes down to it, a lot of it comes down to Bryce Young. Predicting Bryce to really be great in his rookie season, it's a lot to expect them to come out and win a division. I don't think it would be crazy, but I just think it's hard to predict that. You know, if they had DJ Moore still, it'd be a different thing, but obviously they don't. Adam Thielen's just really not that good anymore. Terrace Marshall is okay. DJ Chark is okay. No one's really crazy. I think they're definitely going to struggle to pass the ball, not really because Bryce Young's bad, just because their receiving options are bad, but I think they'll do fine running the ball. But I think that they're going to be a team that is definitely going to be in the bottom half of the league in terms of points scored, and their defense will be fine, and because of that, they'll win some games, but then there'll be other games where I think they end up scoring like only 10 or 13 points and lose by a touchdown just because they can't move the ball as efficiently down the field, just because I don't think their weapons are that great, and Bryce is young, and like I said before, it's hard to really to put a lot of pressure on a rookie and expect him to come in and step up. But I mean, he is the first overall pick, so you know, maybe I'm being, I don't know, maybe I'm being too weak on him. But no, moving on to fourth place. To no one's surprise, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm just yawning thinking about them. I said this in the previous recording that I did, and again, I'm sorry to be rushing through these. I don't know. I just did like a 30-minute recording, and having to sit here and say the same things when I could just sum it down a little bit, because I have a tendency to talk too much like I'm doing it right now in this very moment. But no, the Buccaneers, on paper, their defense is still like a top 10 defense, pushing like top 5. Like they still got some solid guys. There's some dudes who are getting older. I mean, obviously Shaq Barrett's getting up there, Levante David's getting up there, and they didn't really have the best defensive season last year. But I think a lot of their issues really stem from offense, and I think Todd Bowles just really wasn't a great in-game decision maker. But I mean, their secondary solid. They still have Carlton Davis, who's solid. They have Antoine Winfield Jr., who's really good. They still have do they still have Mike Edwards? I'm not really sure. I don't think they do. I can't remember off the top of my head. I don't have their depth chart pulled up anymore because I'm just trying to burn through this. But yeah, they got good weapons. Their O-line's kind of rough. Tristan Wirfs is really good, and if Jensen is healthy, he's good. But he just really hasn't been healthy last year, 2 years or so. But Luke Gedke starting at right tackle and Cody Mock starting at right guard. I think Getke really mainly played like left guard last season, so flipping around, I think that right side of the line is going to kind of be scary just because it's young guys. I think Malk will be okay, but like it's the same thing with Bryce Young though. Like expecting rookies to come in right away and make an impact, it's kind of a tall task. And it's one thing to say that about Bryce Young, which you can make the argument that he should come in right away and make a difference, but Cody Mauch was like a third-round pick, second or third round. I know he was a day 2. I just can't remember if it was second or third. But at the end of the day, I could talk about how much I love the defense, and I could talk about how great Mike Evans is and how great Chris Godwin is and how I love Rashad White as a back. But their O-line just really isn't that good outside of Tristan Wirfs, and they have Baker Mayfield playing quarterback. That's really what it comes down to with me. I think that this team with Brady, I think they would do better than last year with Brady getting a year older, just because I think that they had a really tough go of it with injuries. But, man, Baker's just bad. He's bad. And I think they're going to struggle on offense like more than they did last year, which is why I only have them winning 4 games. I think like the 4 games they do win, I think it'll be like less than 2 touchdowns from each team. I think those are going to be games where their defense is just going to, wreak havoc on opposing quarterbacks, and they'll basically be forced to win because the other team can't score at all. But I think there's a world where maybe they win like 6, 7, 8 games just because their defense might be so good. But I don't know. Their defense wasn't that great last year, but they also had a lot of injuries. So, but yeah, I don't know. Having Baker Mayfield as your quarterback, and there's still some Baker believers, and even if you don't have Baker and you have freaking Kyle Trask starting, it's not a good look. I'm sure everyone's seen the clips of training camp with Baker and Kyle Trask looking pretty rough. But yeah, just to recap, I have the Falcons going 10-7, winning the division. I have the Saints in second at 8-9. I have the Panthers at third at 8-9, and I have the Buccaneers at fourth at 4-13. I know I'm already going to get a lot of hate. I'm going to get crucified for the Saints take because a lot of people love the Saints. And, like, I get it to a certain extent, but I think there's some crazy Saints propaganda being pushed. Because I've seen a ton of people that, like, think no matter what, they're, like, a lock-in for, like 11 or 12 wins, which I think is wild because they just really don't have the talent on the roster to do that, I don't think. I think they could squeeze like 11 out, but anything higher than 11 is like really rough, I think, to predict for them. But yeah, I already know I'm going to get flamed for it, so, bring it on. I've had to defend myself before. I ain't going to stop now, baby. But if you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, and if you want to subscribe, I'd be very appreciative. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you may direct yourself to the comment section below. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, let me know. The new Madden's going to be coming out in about a week and a half, and I'll be uploading that. And I'll also be uploading the AFC predictions shortly. So, new content on the horizon. But as always, guys, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a blessed day.